All right, welcome back to the AM show. Let's turn our attention to the big issues now. And over the weekend, the NPP went to the polls. They went for their special delegate, super delegate conference, where they whittled down the number of aspirants from 10 to 5. That was the purpose. Now, they ended up getting 4 who have made it to the next round, but 2 of them tied. Agyapong and Adorye Nemo, they tied. So the party says they would organize another election for them coming Saturday if one of them does not withdraw from the race. Well, let's discuss all of the issues that came out. Now, we heard that some agent of some political, some of the aspirants were changed from the polling centers. Sam Alan Chamantin's polling agent in Northeast was allegedly brutalized. And we saw in that video one of the aspirants saying so many things on a phone. Now, there are so many things that happened, but eventually they were able to choose 4 of them, with the vice president getting most of the vote with 629 votes, which represented 68.15%. Mr. Agyapong had 132 votes, representing 14.30%. Alan Chamantin secured 95 votes, which represent 10.29%, while Dr. Efriye Akoto had 36 votes, representing 3.90%. Honorable Adorye Nemo secured 9 votes, representing 0.98%, as well as Agyapong. He also secured 9 votes, representing 0.98%. So if you look at the chart, which is on your screens now, 4 of them, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, Kennedy Agyapong, Alan Kwadwo Chamantin, Dr. Efriye Akoto, have all made it to the next round, which is the main, delegate congress on 4th November. So the 2 of them would have to battle it out to know who will be joining the 4. Well, let's analyze the issues that came, and we've been joined by some of the great brains in this field. Dr. Bernard Tutu Buahene is a political marketer with the University of Education in Winneba. He is with us in the studio. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother.
Hope all is well.
Grace of God.
Okay. We also have on Zoom Dr. Osai Kwapong. He is a CDD fellow. Doc, good morning to you. Trust all is well.
Good morning. All is well.
Great. Let me start with you, Dr. Buahene. Now, I'm sure you followed how things evolved during the day. First of all, your impression of how the process was.
Yes, good morning to our viewers. Obviously, we were expecting that we will have an event with zero, violence or threats. But as it turned out to be, some pockets of threats and violence were recorded in certain areas. And to me, I feel that that is not good for democracy, especially, with the kind of perception and expectation, on the NPP as an elite party. I was expecting incident-free, Congress, to elect the first 5. And if it is anything to go by, then obviously the advice is that going forward in November, the presidential, committee should be able to do what they can to ensure that the next one that is going to elect the ultimate flag bearer, shouldn't come with such incidences.
Okay.
Because whether NPP likes it or not, they will need unity, as articulated by His Excellency Vice President Bawumia in his Thanksgiving speech. And that is what we have been preaching for, that anytime that we see a political party losing grounds in its internal elections, then what it means is that that party is preparing to exit. And that is not really good, or it wouldn't be good for the NPP as a party going forward. I also believe that, some of these things, when they come, it should take some kind of deliberations, discussions, some level of tolerance, to be able to handle it the way it should go. I wouldn't want to put a professional touch to it though, because when it gets to elections and sports like football and the rest, emotions override, tolerance. But as a leader, I actually was not expecting, Honorable Ken, to hit the screens with all that kind of annoyance. When you look at the Thanksgiving speech that was been published by Honorable Alan Chamatin, you will see that he also suffered the same fate as Ken suffered. But we didn't see him coming out to that level. And again, he put up a statement, indicating that he is not really happy with it. But at least, if there is something that he has to do, then probably after the election, he will have to complain to, to the commission or the committee. And I think that NPP needs to address some of these things, to put some of these frustrations, to rest. Because if they are not careful, and the experiences of 2008 raises its ugly head in the November election, it is going to cost the party very much.
Okay. Well, once you mentioned the statement by Honorable Alan Chamatin, let me share that with our viewers. I says on Saturday, 26th of August, 2023, the Special Electoral College convened by the New Patriotic Party selected my good self as one of the presidential aspirants to contest the November 4th presidential primaries. Congratulations to all my colleagues who participated in the selection process. I wish to use this opportunity to thank the Almighty God for His grace and mercy in guiding my path thus far. I would also like to express my profound appreciation to the delegate of the Special Electoral College who voted for me in this initial selection process. My appreciation also goes to my family and the Alan for President A4P 2024 campaign team, including members of the pro-Alan groups for their dedication and commitment to my campaign agenda. I would, however, like to express my deep sorrow about the brutal assault on my polling agent in the Northeast region. This is an indelible blot to the integrity of the internal democratic process within the NPP. I wish my colleague speedy recovery and God's manifold blessings, and would like to assure him and his family of my unwavering support for his well-being. The A4P campaign coordination team is currently analyzing the results of the Special Electoral College election, and in course of this week, I will deliver a public broadcast on the way forward for my campaign. I wish to reassure my teaming supporters, particularly those at the grassroots level, that the battle is still the Lord's, and that those who wait upon the Lord shall have their strength renewed. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. Now, let me just add this one, and then I'll move to Dr. Agyapong. The NPP has also released a statement. They brought it out yesterday. Now, it says, the New Patriotic Party extends its heartfelt appreciation to all stakeholders who contributed to the successful execution of the Special Electoral College election, which took place on Saturday, August 26, 2023. We commend the collaborative effort of the Presidential Elections Committee, the Electoral Commission, the Ghana Police Service, media partners, aspirant, delegates, supporters, and the general public for their unwavering dedication to the democratic process. We extend our congratulations to all aspirants and their supporters for their responsible conduct following the guidelines, rules, and regulations set forth for the election. Your commitment to the democratic principles of the party is acknowledged and celebrated. While the majority of voting centers experienced a smooth process, we acknowledge that isolated incidents occurred at certain locations. Now, the leadership of the party unequivocally condemns such incidents and emphasizes our unwavering commitment to the integrity and fairness of the election process. Pursuant to Article 1075 of the NPP Constitution, certain individuals, namely Mr. Raphael Patrick Safo, Charles Dochi Yao Ado, Mr. Musa Suleimana, and Hopeson Adorye will be referred to the party's disciplinary committee. This is a direct response to evidence, including video and photographic materials, which suggest potential violations of the provisions outlined in Article 35A of the party's constitution and a potential misconduct under Article 47. Emphasis must also be placed on the fact that Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, pursuant to above-mentioned constitutional provisions, will also be summoned before the disciplinary committee of the party to provide responses and further details to the accusations and threats he made against certain personalities in a video that has since gone viral on social media and mainstream media. The NPP remains committed to upholding democratic values, accountability, and the highest standards of conduct. We are confident that this disciplinary process will be conducted with fairness, transparency, and impartiality. Signed, Justin Kodia Frimpong. Dr. Kopong, good morning to you, and grateful that you joined us. What happened, or the outcome of the election on Saturday, was it that you expected?
Good morning. Yes, as I've consistently said, and as we discussed on the show on Friday, overall, I wasn't surprised at the fact that the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, came out on top. I've regularly said that I will be very surprised if ultimately he doesn't pull this thing. Off. Two surprises for me, though, was the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong outperforming Mr. Alan Chamating, who has regularly participated in NPP primaries and who, has been framing his campaign, in addition to the other messages that he's been offering delegates, has been also framing his campaign as it is his 10. So I was quite, surprised to see that, he came in third. The other surprise for me, because I had my pick of 4 people, I didn't pick 5, but I picked 4, and I didn't give a fighting chance to Mr. Adorye and Mr. Agyapong. Yes, and so I was also surprised that they came, they tied in, for 5th place and have to go into, a runoff. But overall, I think we discussed, I've discussed on this show in particular that for me, I always saw it as, a 3-way race between the Vice President, Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, and Mr. Alan Chamating, and always said that ultimately I think the Vice President will pull this thing off.
Once he is led in the special delegate, do you foresee the same trend happening on the 4th of November, or something would probably change?
That's very difficult to answer, because when you follow the conversations, when you follow the narratives, there are some who believe that we're talking about super delegates, a much smaller electoral group of people, 900 and something, compared to the almost 200,000 that would vote come November. You also hear this conversation about the super delegates are a group of sort of the party elite, and that the real context is among the grassroots come November 4th. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. Yes, the super delegates rallied strongly behind the Vice President. I think the message that they are sending is that this is the candidate that we strongly believe would help the party out come 2024. At least that's the thing that I believe they're saying. As to whether the larger electoral college of almost 200,000 voters on November would follow that, that signal and mirror exactly what happened, I think we would have to wait till November 4th. But there's no doubt that momentum is on the side, of the Vice President, and I'm sure that is what he and his camp are going to, over the next month and a half, going to campaign on, which is we really, there's a clear, message that I'm the one, he's the one that the party wants, and therefore would encourage, the delegates, those who would vote on November to follow suit. Because I mean, again, the victory is quite overwhelming. I mean, we're talking 7 out of 10 super delegates voting for him. So definitely, he's going to claim the momentum going into November.
Okay, Dr. Boahene, what do you foresee now that Bawumia has led. Kennedy Agyapong is second. And people believe that Kennedy is a grassroots man. What do you foresee happening on 4th November?
So, as Dr. Kwapong rightly said, when you have voter population size of 208,342, as against
955.
Yeah, that represents about
this is
1 point below 1%.
Yeah.
All right, and that tells you that November 4th will be a different dynamic, as compared to what we saw on Saturday. I am of the opinion that, once November 4th is going to be determined by grassroots voters, and of course, people who have certain, feelings with regards to elections in Ghana. I think that we cannot use what happened over the weekend, to predict what is likely to happen, on November 4th.
Okay.
So if there is anything that the parties would have to, the contestants would have to do, then it means that they need to change the dynamics of their campaign, going into November 4th. It may be a relatively, short time, but I also believe that since they started their campaigning, if you have observed carefully, you would see that most of the messages are tailored towards, the grassroots voter. Now, with regards to who is a grassroots, man or not, voting in this country is a bit funny, all right?
Really?
Especially when it comes to, the party level election.
Okay.
It's quite funny. Even at the national, sometimes you can predict, all right, and it will come to pass. But with this thing in our minds, fear delegates in our mind, we cannot bet, our last penny on the fact that whatever happened over the weekend is going to repeat itself in November. But it will take hard work. That one, I believe that each of the contestants, the 5 elected or the 4 that have been elected so far, they all recognize the fact that it will take hard work, strategy, and power, to get to where they want to get to. And so that is what I will urge them. The fight is not over. And more especially when we are moving into an unpredictable market, you need to be circumspect with your communication. You need to be strong with your strategy. You need to have that kind of campaign team. I was telling someone yesterday that this is the time for the parties, to overhaul their campaign teams, with more strategic minds.
Okay.
Rather than just relying on some people within the party who, as it were, may not be able to put up, strong strategies, to lead the fight. So, I think that
if you talk about people with strategic minds, what are you looking at, or who are you looking at?
You see, strategy is not something that you would probably say that this is the way it is done. All right. Strategy is something that you can think on your feet and deliver results. All right. So looking at what has happened over the weekend, all right, if you feel that you were first, you were able to put together, a number of votes. I'm talking to, the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's camp. Now, strategy is not about complacency.
Okay.
So if you sit down and you become complacent, saying that the people who matter, the people who are influential, are the people who voted, so they can go back to their constituents and then influence their vote in November 4th. Of course, if you are not careful, it will be a different ball game altogether. Why? Because the SDCs, the super delegates, they have their interest for voting over the weekend. Now, the grassroots voters who are coming, they equally have their own interest. And so if you are not able to meet their interest, then of course they'll go in for a bargaining, all right, and then pick people who would probably foster their interest. And so that is where the dynamics will come. And so if you are complacent and you are saying that these are members of parliament, these are regional executives who can influence decision down there, if you are not careful, you are wrong. I mean, the trend of voting has been that even the delegates, all right, when their constituents tell them, go and choose candidate A, they get in there and it changes.
Okay.
Right. Yes. And so there is no evidence in research or whatever to suggest that opinion leaders could have influence on voting patterns. All right. The kind of influence that opinion leaders will have is just in a way of communication. All right. Yes. But to determine an intention and a behavior in an election, it is very dangerous. Now, what it means is that if you are picking your team, I always say that, you see, the strategy that you use, obviously campaigning wouldn't be the same strategy that you use when you are in government. In the same vein, what I believe is that the strategy that any of these candidates have used in the superdelegate conference, all right, shouldn't be the same strategy going into November 4th. Right, because the interests
are different.
Yes, and so if you are not careful and you use the same strategy, probably you either reduce your margins or you lose the election. Right, so that is where I feel that each of these candidates needs to, strengthen their campaign teams with more strategic minds. Right,
okay,
and then move into November 4th. In fact, for me, I am expecting some kind of rigor in the campaign
towards the fourth. But aren't you surprised about Kennedy Agyapong beating Alan Chamantin to the second position?
Obviously, I wasn't. Okay. Because you see, when you follow the pattern of discussions within the party and even some research that was coming out, Kennedy Agyapong seems to be pulling, some kind of support base. Now, I think about 2 years ago, there was some kind of, I think 2 or 3 years ago, yeah, there was some kind of poll that suggested that Kennedy Agyapong is the most popular person in the party. All right, so that suggests that even if he came first, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Surprised, okay.
Yes. Now, what actually changed is the fact that the people who voted didn't actually include, the grassroots guys. All right. Yes. And the grassroots guys are the people who Ken seems to be appealing to.
Okay.
All right. And so that's why I'm saying that the strategy, you need to strengthen it. All right. Yes. Because you have somebody who is more popular with the grassroots vote. All right. So going into November, if you are not careful and his popularity is anything that can influence decisions, then of course you are in trouble.
So you won't be surprised if Kennedy becomes the flag bearer then? I
wouldn't be surprised at all. You see, election can be compared to a football match between Asante Kotoko and Accra Hassofu. It is not about who is on form. It is not about who has the best players, but it is determined on the day on the pitch. All right, who is able to take chances, whose strategy will be more superior. That is all election is about. Because you see, for a voter going to vote or cast his or her ballot, the decision can even change at, in
the booth.
Yes, you see. So a lot of things can happen. Even a word or a sentence or a statement that probably an opponent may say can change the dynamics. So you need to be careful with some of these things and strategize in a way that, look, this is the direction we are going. So we start A and then move to Z, making sure that we are being very focused and very strategic. You see, and we make sure that nothing will take your mind off whatever you have set your minds to do.
Was there something that went amiss with the Allen campaign? Or is just because Kennedy is the most popular person in the party. That's why he beat him to the second position. Because, I mean, everybody was saying that the momentum is on the side of the vice president. So him coming first is no surprise. But people expected that Alan would probably be second. Yeah. And then Kennedy beat him to it. So was there something that went amiss that the camp should look at and correct?
Yes, obviously, Alan has a lot of job to do. I'll trace it back to 2008, where he was very popular among delegates. And so when you look at the number of votes that he got, tying up with Nana Akufo-Addo, the current president, so I think there was some form of negotiation that he decided that Nana Akufo-Addo should go. You see, the point is this: from 2008 up to now, he seems to have lost his base, And when he took the decision to contest for 2024, again, I didn't see so much of efforts being put in, especially with his campaign team, to bring all these guys back. I mean, there are people in the current government who suffered, because of Alan. All right. Now, I didn't see these guys going back to Alan. All right. So that tells you that probably the organization wasn't that strong. All right. Again, I also see that from the word go, from the start, after he has come, when he came out, actually put out his campaign, vision and all that into the public domain, the campaign team of Alan again could not put things together, a well-comprehensive program, to ensure that he moves very effectively on the ground. All right. And that is one thing that I feel has affected, his position. Yeah. I wouldn't have been surprised even if Alan has tied with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Okay.
All right. But for strategy, okay, for me, at the beginning of his campaign, I saw some kind of struggle.
Okay.
He wasn't forthcoming. And when you speak to certain people within the party, they will tell you that Alan has not been here, he has not been there, the campaign team has not visited and all that. You see, so to me, there was some kind of gap in his campaign, approach. And that is where I believe that he needs to go into November with all the strength, all the effort, all the resources at his disposal to make any, corrections thereabout that he feels would put him ahead of the others for him to become the flag bearer of the NPP in 2024.
Okay. Let me bring in, but I'll go to Agyapong, but let me bring in Dr. Agyapong first. Doc, if you look at Alan, over the years, the vote he used to garner keeps reducing. Was that the reason? And what do you think was the role of money in all of this too?
So as Dr. Tutubuaine said, when you look at Mr. Alan Kyerematen's performance in NPP primaries over time, the numbers seems to suggest that over time he's losing ground since the 2008 primaries. I mean, I've been wondering, what is fueling that. I don't know if part of it was also his brief departure from the party, resigning, and then rejoining. I don't know if it's because his level of active participation, at least publicly in the party, is not as intense, as some of the other candidates. So I keep wondering, whether all of that is fueling where his support has gotten into in terms of on a downward scale in the party. I brought up the question of what happened to him, but also what happened to Mr. Pabna, Agyapong, to one of his enthusiastic supporters on Facebook, and you hear the mention of money, right? That it takes money to run a well-oiled campaign, to fund the kind of infrastructure that you need to be very competitive in these things. So probably that also plays a role. I don't have, the evidence, in terms of, how much money each of these, camps have at their disposal.
But okay, if you look at the figures over the years, in 2007, Alan Chamantin got 32.30% of the votes. In 2010, it reduced to 19.91%. In 2014, it came to, for the super delegate, he got 9.87%. Then in the General Congress itself, he got 4.75%. So is it about the lack of money to have that machine to engage in that sort of campaign that he would have wished? Or it's just about maybe a loss of popularity in the party, which of course could be influenced by several factors?
I think it's a combination of both. I also think that if you look at those two primaries, the one leading up to the 2012 election, as well as the one leading up to the 2016 election, you also cannot rule out President Akufo-Addo from that, right? That you could also tell that the support was really strong and really overwhelming for him. Despite the 2008 close loss, the 2012 loss, which was disputed, right? I think going into 2016, there was still the belief that 208 was not as fair, 2012 definitely not, and therefore they still wanted to stick with him. And again, someone like President Akufo-Addo is the kind of establishment figure in the party that you see him in and out, in opposition, in government, through the good times and the bad times. You really see him, showing that utmost commitment to the party, right? And I think all of those things contributed to that strong support and showing for him, which therefore also, led to that not so strong showing on the part of Mr. Alan Chamantin. But again, as you mentioned, I think all of those things contribute. And again, it's very interesting to observe that over time, his support, at least the numbers show that his support in the party keeps going down. The last point that I also want to make is that I watched the day he publicly announced that he was going to seek the flag bearership of the party. And at the end of which was, a song was played, the Edru Miso song. And they've been couching, one of the things that they've been framing his, campaign about is this whole notion that it is my turn.
Okay.
I wonder if that makes some people feel like it is some sort of a call for, or it's a sense of feeling entitled.
Okay.
As opposed to fighting for the nomination. I don't get the impression that he's not fighting for it. If he wasn't fighting for it, he wouldn't be crisscrossing the nation. But the phrase Edru Miso seems to suggest that there's a certain sense of entitlement to the flag bearership.
All right, let me bring in Kwadwo Poku, who was one of the aspirants for Saturday's election. Mr. Poku, good morning to you and welcome. Now, I spoke to you on Friday and you were super confident of being part of the five. You actually said, if you're not selected to be part of the five, then you don't know what would happen, because the delegate had promised that your message was touching and that you'll be part of it. What went wrong for you?
Well, I don't know what went wrong. Good morning and good morning to all your viewers. Look, there's the first thing that I think we need to talk about. I said that global info analysis was wrong, and clearly that I was right. That analysis was way out. They have not gone anywhere to do any. If these guys are, like I said, just sit in their room and put numbers.
No, but they said Bawumia would lead. Alan and Kennedy will be part.
Everybody knew that. Even a 4-year-old knows that. I mean, come on. I mean, to say Bawumia, Alan, Ken, those are things that everybody knew. Please, if you are going to be a research, you should be dead. There's a margin of error. Then if you are within that margin of error, then we basically give you credit. So I want to address that. Those guys should just go and hide their face and not ever do any such thing again. Now, to your question, look, I was very, very, very enthused. I was very, very optimistic. But look, on the day is an internal election. Some of the things that I have heard that a lot of people went around and said is that, oh, he's young, he still have a lot of time ahead of him, let's not play him in this politics, let's leave him out, let's basically attend to those who we think. You know, a lot of things were basically went into it. But the most important thing is that I'm alive, I'm enthused, I've done well, and I'm a beacon of hope for a lot of people who think that you have to go through certain stages in politics before you can run for flag bearer. I have done what a lot of people dream to do. So, look, I'm very happy with myself, and I want to say thank you to all the KMP supporters. Thank you to everybody who prayed and supported me through this process.
Now, so you don't think it's a matter of strategy? You just feel that something probably didn't go right?
Oh, no, strategy, clearly. My strategy was that, look, I had a message. My message was very simple, and I think that is me. That is me being true to myself. My strategy and my adherence, because, look, it's about also having two things. Either you have heavy resources to basically deploy, or you look at your strategy, look at your strength, and say that, look, I don't have this kind of resources, but I have a strength. What's my strength? My strength is my warmth and my heart. So I went forward to these delegates and told them that, look, politics is not about somebody sitting somewhere and only coming to you when he needs you. Politics for me, Kojo Poku, is about having a relationship. People you can talk to. People who can help you in a time of need. People that there's a two-way communication. Help me to be part of the fight. And me and you can have that relationship. It is an internal process, like I said, and the internal delegates who are supposed to basically tell me, Kojo Poku, that, look, we accept your message, we want this kind of relationship, we want to be with you, and we want you to help us when we are in need, clearly said that, no, we don't need that. We don't want that kind of politics. We are happy with the politics that we have, and you coming in and telling us these things, for me, we are not interested. So I have to go back and strategize. Maybe in my next rodeo in this thing, I will be like everybody else. Basically, don't pick calls and return messages, and basically just get resources to deploy on the day. I think that is what will help. I couldn't go to Kumasi because I was in the Western region. And maybe if I've gotten people in, if I have been able to go to Kumasi, and basically, I would have basically been a different story. But look, there is no love lost. I'm not upset. The only thing I want to talk about is what happened in Northeast. And I think that should be talked about. You know, everywhere in the 15 regions, plus the head office, it was a free and fair election. Northeast was not a free and fair election. That is where the rep of Allen was beaten. That is where the rep of Agyapong was chased away. You guys have seen that video of Ken being upset. And he was upset because of what has happened in Nalerugu. I want to call on the president to let the regional minister resign. Because what happened in Northeast is a taint on the party, and it's sad for the internal politics of the party. It is not a free and fair election. Today, there's a meeting at the party head office. We want to go there and also ask that the regional chairman should be brought to the disciplinary committee. Every rule that was set in the election by the election committee was flouted in the Northeast area. And I think that should be addressed heavily.
How must the party, approach issues after the election? I mean, they've said they've referred some 4 people to the disciplinary committee, including Kennedy Agyapong, which makes it 5 to the disciplinary committee. What do you think how do you think the party
every action has a reaction? Honorable Kennedy Agyapong acted and reacted in the way. Maybe he overreacted, but look, emotions play a lot of things. He was emotional and he said certain things that probably he shouldn't have said. But I'll leave Honorable Ken to defend himself. I am saying that the party is doing. Look. If you see the work that the election committee is doing, they are doing a brilliant, magnificent job. There was a communique, a letter that came out and said that nobody should be camped. Okay? All the 16 regions, the regional chairman and the regional minister camp the delegates. Now, I want to put a challenge to them. There is a runoff this coming Saturday. If they love the party, right? They love the party so much that they think of people who have to travel far and they camp everybody in all the 16 regions, gave them all the dinners and all the speeches. This Saturday, There's another election runoff between Adenimo and Honorable Agyapong. Let them do that campaign again and let's see. If they're saying that they did it in the spirit of the party, we will see this Friday night if they will camp anybody. You see, some of these things, when we do them, we will be shown off. If nobody is camped this Saturday or this Friday, then we'll know why they did it last week. Because today, if you go and ask them, they'll tell that, oh, they did it because chairmen have to drive from far. Chairmen have to do this for the safety. Let's have them in all one place. That's fine. We accept it. So this Friday, we accept all the regional chairmen, all the regional ministers who camped those delegates last week Friday to do the same thing again. If they don't, then we will not come out with a statement and tell them why they did it. But for now, we are just calm because we know that it wasn't a party that paid for it. We know that the party did not pay for those hotels. The Novotels and all the hotels around the country, we know the party did not pay. So who paid? But look, let's not go into those things. I'm saying that whoever paid should pay again this Friday.
Okay, but if you are one of those two, would you still have allowed the party to have a runoff looking at all the expenses that will be?
Yes, 100%. Why? No, my brother, 100%. Okay. The party constitution says that there will be a 5 shortlisted. And again, I, Kojopoku, have always said that I'm almost 98-100% right when I say things. That's why I'm called Oracle. When we went to council, everybody that was in the council room watching this show, we said that, yes, this boy was right. I told the council that the method of choosing the 5, if we don't choose a different method and do it the way we are doing it, there's going to be a tie. In 2014, there was a tie. The only difference in 2014 was that the tie was between the 4th and 5th place. So they now made the 4th and 5th become 4th and 5th, though there was a tie. This time around, the tie is on the 5th place. So the party need to now spend money to do another set of election, which could have been avoided if they have listened to me. I said, 1, we should all congregate in one place. That was our presentation. That if there's a tie, it can be addressed immediately. 2, we should let everybody do the voting as if we do for the 2nd and 3rd vice. So that in that way, everybody now shortlist 5, which is something that the Constitution said that 5 people be shortlisted. If we do not do that, there is going to be a tie. And it was on my insistence that General Secretary Justin took note and we now inserted that runoff of the following week into the program of the election. Everybody who was there would tell that, yes, the boy is right. And when I said it, other people, I don't want to mention names, were shouting at me to sit down. Now it has happened. Who is laughing now? So look, some things we need to learn going forward. And when some of us talk, people should listen. We don't just talk. We know what we talk about. In mathematical permutations, a lot of things can happen. So look, my brother, look, like I said to you earlier, the 2, yes, they should insist on that election, and that election will be held.
Okay, so going into the November 4th, who is your support for?
I have not decided. Yesterday, I had a very good meeting with all my reps and all my coordinators across the country. All the KMP, they are very happy. They are down because, look, these are small, young people who some of them are new. They are coordinators. They know the politics, but they have gone to their various chairmen, and the chairmen have promised them, oh, no, we'll support the young man. We'll make him part of the 5 at least. And it didn't happen. So they were down. So I have to speak to all of them and encourage them that, look, we are going to move on better and bigger. Okay? But we will need to support somebody for the November 4th. I have not decided, and they've assured me that whoever I back, all the KMP machinery will come full swing. Because bear in mind, one of the strengths that I have from last year coming now is that all my reps around the country were electoral area coordinators. Okay. And these KMP funds were ready to go when I had become part of the fight for us to basically win this thing. So whoever I decide back, I'm going to basically take all that KMP machinery to back that person to win November 4th.
Okay. I'm grateful to you. Stay with me. Dr. Boyene, for Saturday, do you think it's really something that the 2 candidates should look at the party to really undertake?
It all boils down to the 2, and the party, machinery. If the party executives are listening, probably the best thing, apart from the ground rules that they have set, is that they probably could have called the two candidates together and then probably negotiate with them so that at least one of them will drop for the other to go. Again, the two candidates can also contact each other, have discussions, and then probably also as it is, they can also decide on what to do. Because these are issues of resources. So you've gone into a first and you'll be going into a second. So your budget obviously is going to increase. So if you feel that you have the resources and you want to compete, that's fine. But if you also feel that your resources are limited, then it is better you allow the other candidate to also
go.
Because a win for one of them is a win for the party.
Okay, all right, grateful to you. This is still the AM show. Let's bring in Evans Nimakun, who is Director of Research and Elections of the NPP. I must start by saying thank you. I mean, you were of immense support for us on Saturday. Now, the party says on this weekend it's going to organize another round of elections to separate the fifth and, I mean, the people who tied at the fifth position. So far, have some steps been taken to see whether or not one of them would decide to stand down for the other to go?
Thank you for having me, and good morning to your listeners. The gentleman listened to said a win for one will be a win for another. For us as New Patriotic Party, a win for one is a win for all. The party's arrangement to conduct special electoral college to trim down the number to 5 and continue to November 4 for the final primary is on course and is been largely successful because the committee engaged constructively with all the stakeholders, i.e. presidential aspirants, their agents, the electoral commission, the Ghana Police Service, and largely the party reacted. The media also gave us the coverage that enabled the world to see how the New Patriotic Party is conducting its internal process of selecting the president aspirant. And so I must say they are on course. And we are looking into the future with a lot of confidence. The committee put together by the National Council will submit its report to the National Council. And the business directions will come from National Council. For us, we have said that in the event of the tie, there will be a round-up for us to break the tie. So we are on course. We will meet today, discuss the whole exercise of Saturday, and come up with that report.
Now, for the 4 persons plus Canada Agyapong who have been referred to the disciplinary committee, when are they expected to appear before the committee?
Well, the party put together guidelines aside the rules and regulations to ensure compliance, to ensure free, fair, and transparent conduct of the whole exercise. The party also put together the Code of Conduct Committee. And at all times, any party person who felt aggrieved had the platform to submit his or her concern. Well, in the midst of elections, some levels of disagreement may occur. The onus is still on the individual to submit appropriate petitions for consideration. What the party saw, the party is ready to go into it and find amicable solutions. And it is the reason why the General Secretary is extending an invitation to these gentlemen to appear before the disciplinary committee for further investigation.
And when are they supposed to appear before the committee?
Well, the invitation is that they will appear before the committee, and it's largely internal engagement. So That one will be for internally.
What is the terms of reference for this committee?
Thank you. My brother, I mentioned that we set out the Code of Conduct Committee when the party came out with Code of Conduct for the conduct of our internal primary, both presidential and parliamentary. The party also, when it opened the case or nominating, came out with rules and regulations. And so we were guided by the rules and regulations, the guidelines, and the party constitution, as well as the details of the Code of Conduct. And so it is known to all party members and all stakeholders of things that are expected of them and things that they must not engage themselves in. And so we are guided by the party's constitution and our Code of Conduct and our guidelines under the internal
Now, some of the aspirants have had several issues. We've heard of what happened in the Northeast region where an agent of one of the candidates, Alan Kojo was beating. Ken Agyapong has also had issues that his agent was sacked from some polling stations. How is the party addressing all of these concerns?
Well, so invitations to these gentlemen will give the party a complete picture of what really transpired. The way you put it, the description as if you saw exactly what happened at the time. I did not have the benefit of watching, so I'm unable to comment. But the party is taking steps to address these internal challenges that occur. Let's give the benefit of the doubt to go through it, engage all those who were involved, and then find solutions to them. In any case, these are parties' internal issues, and sometimes you can also these low points.
But really, with the 4 people that have been invited, minus Ken Agyapong, why was the comms manager for the Alan team, Boabin Asamoah, he also made certain statements. Some people thought that if we're going to invite people for the disciplinary committee, he should also be invited, but he was left out.
Well, those people are entitled to their opinion. But for now, the invitation goes to these gentlemen. In the court side, the party says to ensure that it in prosecuting our Victory 2020 agenda. And so it gets to a point, it's internal mechanism to resolve these challenges. Let's ask the party to get this done.
Well, okay. Before I let you go, if you look at the cost involved in organizing the elections for the 2 people, you've told us that it's going to follow the same format. People have to travel to their regions to vote. Is it really a cost-effective action? Can the party have any means of dealing with it?
Well, democracy is expensive. We wouldn't impose, and so people can on their own give options. People who are so in need. The person you were talking to earlier said probability and it. What if those ones do not work out? And so, yes, there will be some engagement, and if you get the party nationally have called for an amendment National Executive Committee and National Committee to discuss the report from the Election Committee. And so, if you are looking just the financial, you might not get it right. It's a whole complete picture of what must be done and done for, so that all stakeholders will be satisfied at the end of the day. The party is ready to engage. The party has been engaging and set the best of the party.
Now, some people have also said this process is too costly and that it should be done away with. How do you respond to that?
There will be issues. As we speak, the party is applying provisions in constitution. We can't have a situation where we overlook the clear provisions in the constitution and do otherwise. So after the election, a review the recommendation and national conference will have to amend the constitution. Then so be until this is what we have, and you go to war with the army.
All right. Grateful to you, Mr. Evans Namako, for helping us out here. He is Director of Research and Elections for the NPP. Now, let me bring in Dr. Agyapong here. Doc, how do you think the party should approach resolving all the issues of the aftermath of this election, particularly for those who are to face the disciplinary committee, especially for Mr. Kennedy Agyapong?
I think they've started well by issuing the statement, that condemns what, the actions that they saw that was untoward, especially that happened in the Northeast. They invited, certain individuals to appear before the disciplinary committee. I think what would be key in the handling of these disciplinary issues is the sense of not just justice being seen done, but I think fairness will be key, right? That all parties, both victims, both perpetrators, must be seen to have been treated fairly by the disciplinary committee. Because I always say that ultimately, every political party must be guided by the thirst for unity going into an election. And anything that would chip at that unity, they must, make every effort to make sure that, they forestall that. And post primary grievances can linger on for a little too long if you don't treat it, seriously, swiftly, but most importantly, fairly, right? So for me, whatever the disciplinary committee does or does not do to these individuals, that fairness should be the key guiding principle. And fairness not just in terms of the process, but fairness in terms of also any punishments or lack thereof that they may decide, to impose on the offending parties. But you want to quickly deal with these things because you don't want post-primary grievances to linger for too long.
There were a lot of accusations and counter-accusations. I mean, if you look at how some of the camps were accusing that they were vote buying or sharing of money and all of that, you heard Kojo Poku say that, some people camped certain people. What will be the impact of all of this on the general elections in 2024 for the NPP?
Well, we've regularly had, these discussions in our public spaces about the role of money in our politics and how you resolve that, the inducements that are offered. One of the things that two quick things that I've always said. One is, if you look at our pre-election survey from CDD Ghana back in 2016 and 2020, there was a question in there that asked about inducement, but it also asked, what should you do if you are induced? And the responses, still vote the way you want to vote, even if you are induced. So I've been saying that, look, our prospective politicians should take some cues from that. After every election, you hear words like, fear delegates, fear delegates. Well, slowly, hopefully they'll get the message that, look, yes, you can induce, but ultimately, depending on the size of the inducement, fair enough, but still, people would still do what it is that they want to do. I have been advocating for some kind of public funding, public financing of our political parties. It's not the most popular opinion. In the most recent Afrobarometer survey in 2022, there is strong opposition. If you look at how respondents answer that question, there's strong opposition to that. But if we could build some public consensus about some way of providing public financing of our political parties, hopefully it may tame down the role of money inducements in our politics.
But was it all down to money, or I mean the persons, the personalities of the candidate that probably worked in their favor? Was it down to money alone? How much exactly did money contribute to this?
I mean, I don't believe that at the end of the day it boils down to money. Yes, money plays a role in politics, right? After all, you need money, to organize, to fund your infrastructure, to all of those things. So yes, money does play a role. But I don't think that if you're a candidate who hasn't built strong ties to the party, hasn't been seen to be making sacrifices for the party, doesn't have a strong constituency, I don't think your money alone would get you far in an internal context. So I don't think it's just a question of money. I think other things come into play.
Okay, grateful to you. Stay with me. Let me take you now to Kumasi. That was the home region, or that is the home region of Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. But in that region, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia won it as well. So how are people reacting to the performance of Alan Kyerematen in his own home region? Nana Boakye Yadom is joining us live now with some reactions from there. Nana?
When they said that is just last Saturday, the New Patriotic Party held its special delegates conference at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology Law Faculty and across all 16 regions, including the headquarters of the New Patriotic Party. At the end of the special delegates conference, Vice President Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia won across all 17 polling centers. That is the Ashanti region and including the headquarters of the New Patriotic Party. Today on Citizens Microphone, we are asking why the Vice President won Ashanti region, the home region of former Trades Minister Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. I have some gentlemen here with me and I'll be finding out from them why they think former Trades Minister Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen lost in his own region, the Ashanti region. Breaking them down, we had 119 delegates who had to vote at the special delegates conference of the New Patriotic Party in the Ashanti region. At the end of polls, Vice President Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia won with some 97 votes. Former Trades Minister Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen also came up with some 10 votes, followed by Kennedy Ohini Agyapong with 6 votes, and then former Minister for Agriculture Efriye Owusu-Akoto with some 5 votes. Let's find out from these gentlemen I have here with me why former Trades Minister Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen lost in his own region, the Ashanti region. My first gentleman here with me, I know you've been following the special delegate conference of the New Patriotic Party, but let's look at the performance of former Trades Minister Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen in the Ashanti region. This is his own region. Sometimes he says he's the only candidate amongst all 10 who can gain 2 million votes from the Ashanti region. But at the end of the special delegate conference, which of course should make a statement for him, he pulled just 10 votes. Why do you think the former trade minister could not really make a statement from the Ashanti region?
Well, I think that is down to a level of some number of factors. Let's look at it from the perspective, in the historical context, we can see that the Ashanti region happens to be the bank of the NPP. So in as much as they are contesting, most of them would want to garner most of their votes from here. And the recent elections is a result of something that happened last year during the regional executive elections. That is the 29th of May. You see, the vice president and all other candidates wanted to get majority of the votes here. So they started working. They had vested interest in who became these regional executives. So you can see that most of these candidates were working very hard to put their people in a position of power. And I think it worked to the vice president's advantage, because you see, the pro-NPP radio stations, pro-NPP television stations were projecting the vice president, Mahmoud Bawumia, against, let's say, the station of the original chairman. Not a day went by without you getting to hear something from or something about the vice president. And I think it's shaped perception. It's told the people this is the popular person, this is who we are all rooting for. So, you see, the media has a way of shaping perception. And I think the vice president used that one to his advantage. Because anybody who gets Ashanti region, which is the headquarters or like which produces the highest number of votes for the NPP, obviously is perceived to be the most, the favorite person in the race. And the vice president worked so hard, made sure he win the people. And I think going forward, people have to reevaluate their options, reevaluate their strategies in the November 4th elections. I believe this is what the vice president did, and then it worked for him. Why Alan Chematin put 10 votes, and then the vice president put 82% of the votes, getting 97 votes. So, yeah, I think it's as a result of a work that was done previously, and it reflected in these superdelegates elections.
But let me ask, did it come as a surprise to you in the first place, or you could predict it already?
Well, it somewhat came as a surprise because, see, we were thinking that, well, Alan would get some number of votes. Let's look at it from Ken's side. You can tell that even though the vice president won Central Region, but Ken pulled 19 votes, and then the vice president pulled 25 votes. So you can tell it was a close contest. So we were somewhat kind of like thinking maybe it would be, even though if the vice president would win, it's not going to be by that huge margin. But then, I mean, 97 against 10, I assume the vice president would win, but then not up to that margin.
All right, so he is saying that he assumed that the vice president would definitely win the Ashanti region, but considering the margin, 97 votes against 10, well, it came as a surprise. I have another gentleman here with me, Prince. Looking at the votes, former trades minister Alan Kojo-Chematin polled in the Ashanti region, his own region. Did it come as a surprise to you in the first place, or you could predict it?
I think what happened on Saturday was one surprising event because, you know, when you are running an election and you realize you have a stronghold, it is assumed that you must get the highest votes from your stronghold. So the outcome of the results, the outcome of the election on Saturday was a surprise to many of us. But then there are factors that shape political events and the outcome of elections. Now, it could be assumed that Ashanti region is his stronghold. So much of the work was not put into focusing on the delegates here. And then another aspect also has to do with the clientele politics that we all talk about. Now, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is the vice president of the new government or the new patriotic party. He has been able to have delegates in the Ashanti region by ways of appointment and other things. That is consolidation. So in as much as you are coming from the Ashanti region, that alone could not win you votes because this particular type of vote is talking about delegate votes. You need people in place, you need the numbers of people. So you coming from Ashanti region alone do not win the vote. Now, the other aspect we also have to do with campaign strategies. How strategic were they as far as Ashanti region is concerned? Because when we can look at two comparative events, when Bawumia came to KNUST and when Alan Chematin came to KNUST, look at the crowds they pull, look at the number of people that came out to meet them. You can see how these things turn out. And then that alone could prompt you that, no, there could be a problem. We need to work more on Ashanti region and get the vote from there. So strategically, they might not put some things in place that could have resulted in what happened. But then, you know, it is not only based on strongholds that wins elections. There are factors that must be taken into consideration. But then, it's surprising that from your stronghold, you could not pull at least 50 votes. And I believe this is a special delegate election. So there's more work to be done, and Alan needs to work hard to make sure that he comes back better and then bigger with more votes at the end of the day.
All right, so he says that this is just the special delegates conference, but Alan Chematin should work hard going into the November 4th delegate conference itself. I have another one here with me. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia won in his region massively, not even a single vote for any other. But here in the Ashanti region, the home region of former Trades Minister Alan Kojo-Chematin, he won with 82%. And then former Trades Minister pulling just 10%, or let me say, sorry, 10 votes. Did that come as a surprise to you, or you could predict it already? And what could be done going forward?
Okay, going forward, we shouldn't forget about the fact that those who make up the super delegates are the members of parliament, the ministers, the regional heads, the constituency heads. Okay, and then one way or the other, it was very evident that some of them or majority of them were appointees of Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. You get it. So we mostly anticipated a 95% vote for Bawumia here in Ashanti region. You get it, yeah, because the super delegate election is made of appointees from the government, those in the higher grounds. And then it looked very obvious that majority of them, about 96% of them are in favor of one candidate. You get it. Taking a practical example, when you go to a Joso, their party office, those saga, know all these kind of things. You get it, yeah. So going forward, we need to also admit the fact that so many things should be put in place on all the sides in terms of strategies. You get it, because in as much as appointees or maybe people from the higher grounds are made the super delegates, more work needs to be done, most especially in your home, somewhere that you call your home. You get it? Yeah, sure. So we anticipated a 90% for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia because of certain happenings and certain circumstances.
But should that be the case, whereas you would predict 95% for the vice president in your own region?
This is it. When it gets to a point where it becomes very obvious that all the things goes in favor, all the odds goes in favor. You get it. You shouldn't admit the fact that it will go in favor of this thing in that percentage. You get it. But Ashanti region is Alan. You get it? Alan is Ashanti region. And then Ashanti region is the grassroots, not the super delegate. Yeah, so we need to get certain things clear here. There are differences between grassroots and super delegates. When super delegates says one candidate and then the grassroots also say one candidate. You should know.
Are the super delegates not influenced by the grassroots?
They have a very good influence on the grassroots, But taking into consideration certain things, it would sound very weird for someone that I appointed to vote against me. It would take other factors into consideration. You get it? Yeah, sure. So more work needs to be done going forward into the general delegate election. More work needs to be done. You get it? But I wasn't so much surprised with the turnout that came. In fact, looking at all other factors, we expected that. We anticipated that. But going forward, so much work needs to be done.
All right, so he was expecting a 95% win for the Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, and he says that going forward to the General Delegates Conference in November 4th, and he's expecting the former Trade Minister to put in so much work. But let me come to you again. What do you think could be done, or what do you think can work out for the former Trade Minister on November 4th?
I think his performance in the Ashanti region should give him more insight into most of the things that he has done so far and what he must do to make sure that November 4th he garnered most of the votes. Now, strategically speaking, the superdelegates have influence on the grassroots because these are members of parliament, these are old or senior party members, these are executives at the regional level and then the party offices. So at the end of the day, it's still going to go back to the question that do you have these people in support? Do you have these people supporting you? Do you have these people working on the grassroots for you? And if you were not able to do that in the Ashanti region, this is the time for him to re-strategize. Because at the end of the day, surprises may come up. When you do comparative analysis, you realize that even in the Oti region, where none of them has a grassroots, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was able to pull 16 votes out of that. So that should tell you that you need to work hard. And I believe from this time to November 4th, most of them should work hard and then put a surprise, especially for the former trade minister, to make sure that he gets most of the vote and work on the grassroots. Because as it stands, because of the surprise that we all had on Saturday, it is becoming not too obvious to predict what that outcome is going to be, because yes, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia won majority of the votes, but some also perceive that Ken has the grassroots. Ken is for the people. And then it is now the time for them, or the top 5 that will come up at the end of the day, to now change the narrative and tell us that yes, this is super delegate election, and we also have people on the ground, people working for us, and people at the grassroots level that we can trust on. So we are hoping for things to change, and especially for the former trade minister to come up with more numbers come November 4th.
All right, so he's expecting the former trades minister to work hard as they proceed to the General Delegates Conference itself on November 4th. Back to you. Don't you think that the team of former trades minister downplayed the Super Delegates Conference? They didn't take it serious?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say they downplayed it. You know, it's elections, and election is won on strategies. Probably they had their own strategies that backfired. But then, I mean, it's not too late, because this is just less than 1% of the total delegates who will be voting at the end of the day to choose the flag bearer. We have more than 220-something people who will be voting on November 4th. In as much as the people who just voted in the super delegates elections have a level of influence, I think, as I said earlier, all the candidates, the 5 aspirants who were able to sail through, have to reevaluate their methods, strategies, and then change the narrative. Let the people know, like appeal to the grassroots. There'll be some level of influence, but yes, I mean, this is also the time for you to project yourself as a winning candidate. Sell your message to the people, appeal to their conscience, tell them, let them know why they need to choose you. And I think Alan, with his level of experience, with the years of experience, he can, capitalize on some of these things to project himself as a winning candidate. I think if he does that, that would go a lot in his favor.
So going forward, what is the one strategic thing you think he can do to win November 4th?
See, one strategic thing that he can do is, he's projected himself as this innocent sin guy. That doesn't win elections, trust me. You need to go down there. You need to appeal to the grassroots. Ken has that kind of vibe. Ken will come, opinions, he will share his mind, he will speak for the people, so they know him as the people's person. I think Alan has to carve a niche for himself. Let the people know what he stands for, what his principles are, and then be at the grassroots, be with them. He doesn't have to stay that up there and then allow his people to do the work. It should be on grounds. His booth should be on grounds, like touring the people, selling his message to the people. The people should have a feel of him. So I think if he is able to do that, he will be able to at least change the narrative.
All right, so he is also saying that the former trades minister, Alan Kojo Shematin, has to do a lot of things going forward, and mainly going into the November 4th General Delegates Congress itself. And we've been analyzing his performance during the Special Delegates Conference held on August 26th, that is just last Saturday. From Kumasi, my name is Nana Boachi Dankwayadom.
And in Accra, I am Samuel Kojo Brace. Now, interesting there. But let me take final words from Kwadwo Poku, and then I come into the studio. Mr. Poku, so before I let you go, what will be your final word to the party and delegate heading for the 4th November election? Do I still have Mr. Poku on the line? Mr. Poku, if I do have you, I want to find out from you what your final word to the party will be as you prepare for. Okay. All right. Dr. Osekwapon is still there. Doc, so before we part ways, what will be your final word to the party?
Well, I wish them well as they go into November 4th. And I look forward to seeing what happens there, whether, the full delegates would, mirror what happened on Saturday, or whether there will be some differences. But we all hope that it will be incident-free and everything goes well.
Should any of the candidates change strategy?
I don't think so. They just have to keep, looking at, rehashing their message. For someone like, Alan Shematin or Ken Agyapong, I'm sure they would start, rethinking, is there something extra they need to do to win more votes? For the vice president, I don't think this would happen, but I hope his team also don't get overly complacent thinking it's a done deal. Yes, momentum is on their side. I don't think they would get complacent, and they don't want that to creep in, and I'm sure they're going to stick with their message and their strategy as well.
All right, Dr. Poku. Dr. John Osai Kopon, I'm grateful to you for joining us. He is a CDD fellow. Now, in the studio, Dr. Bernard Tutu Buahene is a political marketer at the University of Education, whatever. Doc, so what do you expect to see from all the candidates heading into 2024? November 4th.
November 4th, I expect to see interesting contest, more dynamic, more power. I expect to see some kind of innovation in political communications and strategy. And I expect also to see that the other candidates, as it is now, it is more or less like a one-horse race. But I expect the other candidates to come forthright, strengthen their campaign, put in more velocity, and probably see if they can change the dynamics. With regards to all the discussions, in the media, in the public domain, it is obvious that, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia seems to have, surrounded himself with some big weights who are helping his campaign and all that. And that is the hallmark of a good leader. But again, I also expect that it shouldn't be that one-horse race where, the distance between the leader and the rest is about 50 meters or that. So I expect some kind of close contest.
Okay.
So Alan, Kennedy Agyapong, and the rest should also strengthen themselves. The battle is not lost. For elections, it is when the results are declared that you can pinpoint and say that, okay, this person has done this and that, and it has helped.
Okay.
So everybody has the chance, and so they should put in their maximum.
Okay. Dr. Bernard Tutu Buahene is a political marketer, and he lectures at the University of Education, Winneba. Grateful to you for coming through. Well, this is still the AM show. We'll take a quick break. But before, water is life, and Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all purposes, 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pocket and bags, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. Our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices, and all you must do now is drink Awake purified drinking water wherever you go. Choose a bottle of Awake purified drinking water today and get quality hydration. And Awake purified drinking water, we say, one for life, because for every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center, another quality product by Casaproco Company Limited. For bulk purchase, please call us on 0262 351251. This advert is FDA approved. Well, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we still have more for you, so stay with us.